Okay, everybody, without further ado, we are live for number 45, 45th edition of Englishing with Jings. I'm your host, Brandon Lobshire. And our subject today is Egypt. Ancient Egypt, present day Egypt. Fascinating. Really fascinating. So mysterious. Whenever I think of Egypt, I think mysterious. Maybe that's just me. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into the coronavirus report. Unfortunately, I loathe for the day that we don't have this anymore. Really. Okay, almost there. Why can't I find it? Here we go. Okay. As you can see, everyone, we're almost 95 million cases total. A little over 2 million deaths. 60, almost 8 million recovered. Okay. USA, almost 25 million cases, 405,000 deaths. Wow. Okay. Let's go to Hong Kong. 9,503 total cases, 162 deaths, and it looks like we only have 617 active cases. Not so bad. Not so bad. Taiwan, 851 total cases. Wow, they might actually reach 1,000. I can't believe it. And only one new case. See, with statistics like that, it's going to take a while before they hit 1,000. Here where I'm currently staying here in Europe, in Serbia, we can see 8,000 new cases in one day. So only 93 active cases in Taiwan. Amazing. Okay, so speaking of where I'm at, let's look. I've been trying to avoid it. Okay, so we're 17th in Europe, 371,216, 3,730 deaths, and 335,000 active cases. So pretty much all of the cases are active. That shows you how well we were doing until recently. But okay, enough of that. Ugh. You know, there's so many vaccines on the horizon right now. So, and I say on the horizon because if you're not living in the Western countries, you're probably waiting still. This is how the world works, I suppose. Ugh. Anyway, okay. 45th edition, 45. Amazing. Amazingly fast, people. Okay, I think we'll do some vocabulary, I think. One moment. And we have some interesting ones, of course. Our team is so knowledgeable when it comes to relevant vocabulary, I tell you. Okay. Almost there. Okay. Number one for today, and it's actually a double word. Egypt and Egyptian. Egypt and Egyptian. Say it with me, everybody. Egypt and Egyptian. Okay, Egyptian is basically a native or inhabitant of Egypt, or the Afro-Asiatic language. I'm here. Can't hear me? Still no? How about now? Are you sure? Okay. Testing one, two, three. Unstable? Okay, hold on. Let me try something here really fast. Hear me on Instagram. I'm trying to reset. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, how about now? Anything? Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Is it good? Are you are you sure? I mean, this is really strange because this is a wired headset. Why would it not be working? Okay, maybe it could be Zoom too. Okay. All right. Well, okay. So start back with no problem. Okay. We're gonna reset on the vocab and go back to Egyptian. Okay. Egyptian is a native or inhabitant of Egypt. Or you can say the Afro-Asiatic language of the ancient Egyptians from earliest times to about the 3rd century AD. In Egypt, hold on 1 second. Okay, Egypt's definition is a country of northeastern Africa, bordering on the Mediterranean and Red Seas, and site of an early and long enduring civilization of the ancient world. Capital is Cairo. The area is 386,662 square miles, or 1,001,450 square kilometers. Population, almost 100 million, 99,413,000. Wow. Fascinating. Very fascinating. Okay. That brings us to our second word, and probably my favorite of the day, pyramid. Pyramid. Say it with me, everyone. Pyramid. Very good. Okay. Pyramid is an ancient, massive structure found especially in Egypt, having typically a square ground plan, outside walls in the form of 4 triangles that meet in a point at the top, and inner sepulchral chambers. Sepulchral. Structure or object of similar form. A polyhedron having for its base a polygon and 4 faces, triangles with a common vertex. It's complicated stuff. Okay. That brings us to word number 3, which is staircase. Staircase. Everybody? Staircase. Very good. Okay, a staircase is a flight of stairs with the supporting framework, casing, and balusters. It's the structure containing a stairway. It's just a row of steps. It's a staircase. Okay. On we go to number 4. Camel. Camel. Say it with me, everyone. Camel. Very good. And I'm not talking about the cigarette brand. That's bad. Okay. Definition of camel. Either of two large ruminant mammals that have one or two large humps of stored fat on the back and are used as draft and saddle animals in desert regions, especially of Africa and Asia. By the way, I learned that they eat camel in the Middle East. I didn't know that. That's something new to me. Okay, next. Bazaar. Bazaar. Say it with me, everyone. Bazaar. Okay. A bazaar is a market, as in the Middle East, consisting of rows of shops or stalls selling miscellaneous goods. So a fair for the sale of articles, especially for charitable purposes, or a place for the sale of goods. So basically a marketplace. That's what a bazaar is. Okay. Number 6 vocab of the day is trade. Trade. Say it loud, say it proud. Trade. Very good. Okay, trade, the business of buying and selling or bartering commodities. Business, commerce, dealings between persons or groups. This is trade. Okay. Next word, number 7, is treasures. Treasures. Say it with me, everyone. Treasures. Okay. Treasure is wealth such as money, jewels, or precious metals stored up for or hoarded. Wealth of any kind in any form, or a store of money in reserve, or something of great worth or value. Okay. Ancient Egyptian treasures. That sounds great. Okay, we're on to number 8, which is desert. Lots of desert in Egypt, that is for sure. Desert. Say it with me, everybody. Desert. Not dessert, desert. Very good. 2 different words, same spelling. Okay, desert is arid land with usually sparse vegetation. No vegetation, just sand. Let's see. A desolate or forbidding area. Or a wild, uninhabited and uncultivated tract. Let's just say a very large area of land with lots of sand, very dry. It's the easiest way. Okay, that brings us to number 8. Sometimes when we're in the desert, we will find an oasis. Oasis. Say it with me, everyone. Oasis. Very good. Okay. Oasis is a fertile or green area in an arid region, such as a desert. Something that provides refuge, relief, or pleasant contrast. So a green spot with vegetation and life amongst the desert. That's an oasis. Okay. I think I may have misnumbered that last one. Apologies. But we're on to number 10. The Nile River. Nile River. This is such an important landmark in Egypt. Nile River. Say it with me, everybody. Nile River. Okay. Nile River. The Nile River is about 6,650 kilometers long, and its drainage basin covers 11 countries. Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, Republic of the Sudan, and Egypt. In particular, the Nile is the primary water source of Egypt and Sudan. Huge. Audio check. 1, 2. Audio check. 1, 2. Is it good? Are you sure? What, what is going on? Okay. Shall we continue? Okay. Back to number 10. Okay, Nile River. Nile River. Say it with me, everybody. Nile River. Okay, the Nile is about 6,650 kilometers long, and its drainage basin covers 11 countries: Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, South Sudan, Republic of the Sudan, and Egypt. In particular, the Nile is the primary water source of Egypt and Sudan. Okay, I hope everybody heard that. We are on to number 11, which is maybe my second favorite. Could be my first favorite. Mummy. Mummy. Not mommy. Mummy. Say it with me, everybody. Mummy. Very good. Okay. Mummy is a body embalmed or treated for burial with preservatives in the manner of the ancient Egyptians. A body usually well preserved. Mummy. Oh, that brings me to so many great old horror movies. Okay. Number 12, vocabulary of the day. Tomb. Tomb. I hope everybody can still hear me. Tomb. Say it, everybody. One more time. Tomb. Tomb. Very good. Okay, a tomb is an excavation in which a corpse is buried, a place of interment, a house chamber or vault for the dead, a building or structure resembling a tomb. Okay. Very good, very good. That's going to bring us to our last vocabulary for the 45th edition of Englishing with James. This makes me sad. But once again, another really cool word, Sphinx. I hope everybody can hear me. Sphinx. Say it, everyone. One last time for today. Sphinx. Very cool. Okay, the Sphinx is an ancient Egyptian image in the form of a recumbent lion having a man's head, a ram's head, or a hawk's head. This is a Sphinx. Very cool. The mystery of the Sphinx. Okay. That is going to do it. Number 45, finished. I'm always sad at the end of the vocabularies. This might be one of the most important aspects of our show. And speaking of our show, it is brought to you by Jing's Learning Center. At Jing's, we help perfect your English. Through conversation, we help with grammar, sentence structure, vocabulary, pronunciation, every aspect of the English language. Our teachers are very experienced and very fun. So listen, if you want to perfect your English conversation skills, look no further than Jing's. We're here to help you and we're here to have fun. Having said that, okay, big number 45. Wow. Oof, we're almost to 50. That's shocking. Coffee. Coffee, but no chocolate. Nope. Too early for the chocolate. You remember this show? I hope so. We just did it. Okay. Let's do a little talking about Egypt, about ancient Egypt. One thing I was always fascinated with as a child was the pyramids, of course. How did they get there? How did these people stack these huge, heavy rocks to make the pyramids? That's so mysterious. Oh, I didn't even see you down there, Celia. Hi. Shall I wave? Hi, Celia. Welcome to our show. And by the way, we're simulcasting on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, everybody. So, you have 3 ways to come join us. And I'll bring you on. We can have conversation live right now. So, okay. Ancient Egypt is what I'm fascinated by. This was a civilization of ancient North Africa, concentrated along the lower reaches of the Nile River, situated in the place that is now the country Egypt. Ancient Egyptian civilization followed prehistoric Egypt and coalesced around 3100 BC, according to conventional Egyptian chronology, with the political unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under Menes. The history, I said his name right. Okay. The history of ancient Egypt occurred as a series of stable kingdoms separated by periods of relative instability known as intermediate periods. The Old Kingdom of the Early Bronze Age, the Middle Kingdom of the Middle Bronze Age, and the New Kingdom of the Late Bronze Age. Okay, Egypt reached the pinnacle of its power in the New Kingdom, ruling much of Nubia and a sizable portion of the Near East, after which it entered a period of slow decline. During the course of its history, Egypt was invaded or conquered by a number of foreign powers, including the Hyksos, the Libyans, the Nubians, the Assyrians, the Achaemenid Persians, and the Macedonians under the command of Alexander the Great. The Greek kingdom, formed in the aftermath of Alexander's death, ruled Egypt until 30 BC, when under Cleopatra, it fell to the Roman Empire and became a Roman province. The success of ancient Egyptian civilization came partly from its ability to adapt to the conditions of the Nile River Valley for agriculture. The predictable flooding and controlled irrigation of the fertile valley produced surplus crops, which supported a more dense population, and social development and culture. With resources to spare, the administration sponsored mineral exploitation of the valley and surrounding desert regions. The early development of an independent writing system, the organization of collective construction and agricultural projects, trade with surrounding regions, and a military intended to assert Egyptian dominance. Motivating and organizing these activities was a bureaucracy of elite scribes, religious leaders, and administrators under the control of a pharaoh, who ensured the cooperation and unity of the Egyptian people in the context of an elaborate system of religious beliefs. The many achievements of the ancient Egyptians include the quarrying, surveying, and construction techniques that supported the building of monumental pyramids, temples, and obelisks, a system of mathematics, a practical and effective system of medicine, irrigation systems, and agricultural production techniques, the first known planked boats, Egyptian faience and glass technology, new forms of literature, and the earliest known peace treaty made with the Hittites. Ancient Egypt has left a lasting legacy. Its art and architecture were widely copied, and its antiquities carried off to far corners of the world. Its monumental ruins have inspired the imaginations of travelers and writers for millennia. A newfound respect for antiquities and excavations in the early modern period by Europeans and Egyptians led to scientific investigation of Egyptian civilization and a greater appreciation of its cultural legacy. Okay. This is truly amazing, everything that was done in ancient Egypt. I mean, they were well ahead of their time. Well ahead of their time. I would really love to know what happened back then, how they built those pyramids. If I could just get in the time machine and stop just for a minute, just to get out of my time machine and look to see how they're doing this. I think aliens did it. I'm sorry. When you look at some of these ancient hieroglyphics inside these pyramids or inside these tombs, they show flying ships and stuff. Doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but it doesn't make sense that, I mean, it would take 1 million people to pull these blocks of stone, and they cut them so perfect back then. They didn't have tools like that. At least they weren't supposed to have tools like that. We don't even have tools that great these days to make some of these precision laser cuts. I don't know. We'll leave that for another show, I guess. Okay. Let's talk about current Egypt, huh? Why not? Why not? Egypt has been through so many different periods of time when they were ruled by different countries and such. Okay, we'll just go with this. Okay, Egypt, officially the Arab Republic of Egypt, is a transcontinental country spanning the northeast corner of Africa and southwest corner of Asia by a land bridge formed by the Sinai Peninsula. Egypt is a Mediterranean country bordered by the Gaza Strip, Palestine, and Israel to the northeast, the Gulf of Aqaba and the Red Sea to the east, Sudan to the south, and Libya to the west. Across the Gulf of Aqaba lies Jordan, across the Red Sea lies Saudi Arabia, and across the Mediterranean lie Greece, Turkey, and Cyprus, although none share a land border with Egypt. Okay, Egypt has one of the longest histories of any country, tracing its heritage along the Nile Delta back to the 4th millennia BC. Considered a cradle of civilization, ancient Egypt saw some of the earliest developments of writing, agriculture, urbanization, organized religion, and central government. Iconic monuments such as the Giza necropolis and the Great Sphinx, as well as the ruins of Memphis, Thebes, Karnak, and the Valley of the Kings, reflect this legacy and remain a significant focus on scientific and popular interest. Egypt's long and rich cultural heritage is an integral part of its national identity, which has endured and often assimilated various foreign influences, including Greek, Persian, Roman, Arab, Ottoman Turkish, and Nubian. Egypt was an early and important center of Christianity, but was largely Islamized. Okay. Islamized in the 7th century and remains a predominantly Muslim country, albeit with a significant Christian minority. Okay. Modern Egypt dates back to 1922 when it gained independence from the British Empire as a monarchy. Britain pretty much owned, I'd say, about 80% of the world back then. Following the 1952 revolution, Egypt declared itself a republic. And in 1958, it merged with Syria to form the United Arab Republic, which dissolved in 1961. I didn't even know about that. Throughout the second half of the 20th century, Egypt endured social and religious strife and political instability, fighting several armed conflicts with Israel in 1948, 1956, 1967, and 1973, and occupying the Gaza Strip intermittently until 1967. In 1978, Egypt signed the Camp David Accords, officially withdrawing from the Gaza Strip and recognizing Israel. The country continues to face challenges from political unrest, including the recent 2011 revolution and its aftermath, to terrorism and economic underdevelopment. Egypt's current government, a semi-presidential republic, has been described by a number of watchdogs as authoritarian or heading an authoritarian regime responsible for perpetuating the country's problematic human rights record. Okay. Egypt is considered to be a regional power in North Africa and the Middle East, and a middle power worldwide, with one of the largest and most diversified economies in the Middle East, which is projected to become one of the largest in the world in the 21st century. Egypt has the third largest economy in Africa, the world's 40th largest economy by nominal GDP, and the 19th largest by PPP. Egypt is a founding member of the United Nations, the Non-Aligned Movement, the Arab League, the African Union, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Okay. Wow. This really makes me sad because I have had English students from Egypt, and to see Egypt's economy is so strong doesn't make sense to me, because most people that I've taught English from Egypt are not rich. They're very poor. So, and I've heard stories about how poor the country is. This doesn't make sense. If it's such a strong economy, why don't more people have money? It doesn't make sense. So obviously there's not a free market in Egypt. Okay, that's another one for another subject here on Jing's Learning. Yeah, okay. What can we do, right? Okay. Goodness gracious, some of these videos. I hear it. Can you not hear me again? It's the same? Okay, I'm getting mad. I don't think it's me. You know what? Let me try something. Hold on. Now? Now? Can you hear me? Are you sure? How about now? Now it's good? Are you sure? I'm perfect. Say something more. Are you sure? Doesn't make I don't know. I've never had this happen before with a wired headset. Okay, no problem. Okay, back to the show. Huh? Okay, give me 1 second here. I want to show a little bit about ancient Egypt.
Pyramids in a step.
Okay, here we go.
Unfortunately,
My God, guys, there's so many videos for ancient Egypt. You don't even know. Okay, let's share.
Because Egyptian history lasted. Building pyramids and focused on tombs in the famous Valley of the Kings. Through the power of their great army, the pharaohs exerted their authority over lands in the Levant and south into Nubia. Separating each of these kingdoms were intermediate periods that sent their country into chaos. These dark ages plagued scholars due to the lack of written records available, but what we do have indicates that the people experienced economic hardships until stability could be restored. After the New Kingdom, Egypt experienced its third intermediate period, where it saw rule by Nubians, Assyrians, and Persians, before finally becoming a province of the Roman Empire. Scholars acquire the timeline of kings from several lists discovered in tombs and temples that include the Palermo stone, the royal list of Karnak, the royal list of Abydos, and the Abydos king list. The order of pharaohs are not complete, but mostly accurate when they are compared together. It is only during the time of the intermediate periods when the list of pharaohs become either unknown or vague. We acquire our basic structure of Egyptian chronology from the Greco-Egyptian priest Manetho, who lived in the 3rd century BC during the reign of Ptolemy I. His work was called Egyptian History, or Notes About Egypt, and divided the Egyptian chronology into dynasties. We recognize 30 of them from the unification of Egypt down to the death of the last native Egyptian pharaoh, Netanebo II, in 343 BC. Dynasty 31 is the second Persian period, and Dynasty 32 is the Ptolemaic dynasty, which of course ended with the death of Cleopatra VII in 30 BC. you will also find detailed outlines for each episode with additional resource material, maps, and bibliographies. Please remember.
Okay. Okay, so that was bad. Oh my goodness. Is anything happening correctly today? Oh boy. Okay, one moment. So, was that whole video bad quality? Okay, I'll send this one to the team and let them feed it to you.
Most people think about hieroglyphs as
Okay. Let's check out some hieroglyphics, huh? Okay, I think we're going to watch another clip here. This one's more about hieroglyphics.
Most people think about hieroglyphs as the main form of writing in ancient Egypt, but many other scripts existed. It might also come as a shock as well to know that not many people could read and write in ancient Egypt, perhaps as many as 1 in 100. Throughout this gallery, there's different examples of scripts that were used in ancient Egypt on a wide variety of medium, from stone through to metalwork, right through to papyrus and coffins. Hieroglyphs is the most ornate script, and it was used for monumental inscriptions such as those found in temples and tombs, like this granite stele here, which is a tablet carved of hieroglyphs made about 4,000 years ago in a period of time called the Middle Kingdom. And at the bottom we have a scene here of 3 men, but at the top this really interesting symmetrical arrangement of the hieroglyphs, and it demonstrates how hieroglyphs can read in 2 directions. So the top part of the stele gives us the name of the 2 men that it's dedicated for. If we start with this owl here, we're reading in this direction, and it says the estate manager Khonsu. The second name begins here with this owl facing in the other direction. So we read along here, and he has the same title, the estate manager, but his name is Hotep. We can see Hotep and Khonsu down here at the bottom of the stele with some other man that we presume is their grandfather. Hieroglyphs were pretty and decorative on the walls of temples and tombs, but they were slow to carve and paint. So a more joined up form of writing called hieratic was developed for more everyday documents like letters and contracts, but also extraordinary inscriptions such as this one we have here on display in the gallery, which records the confession of a thief who robbed the tomb of Ramesses VI in the Valley of the Kings. This is during a time of civil unrest, and what you can see is his confession, and it's put into this script, this hieratic script, by a scribe in a courthouse using a reed pen on a sheet of papyrus. This is actually a really important object. It's of great historical importance because it's unique. It's the only document that we have that records a robbery in the Valley of the Kings. Around the 7th century BC, a later phase of script developed called Demotic. It's developed from hieratic, but was closer to the spoken language of the time. Initially it was used for less formal documents, but later expanded into use for religious and texts and works of literature. In a gallery we have 4 amazing little pages from a book. They're made from thin pieces of wood. Each column records the observations of planets for a period of 62 years. This painstakingly accurate information about the movements of the planets was used by astrologers using little books just like this to cast horoscopes. The modern Western zodiac we still use today is based on the Egyptian view of the night sky.
Very cool. Didn't even realize that. Wow. Interesting tidbit of information right there. Okay, people. Hopefully you can still hear me. I mean, I really hope so. And I never thought I'd have to worry about that. But now I'm worried that you can't hear me. But anyway, you're not going to be able to hear me just for a few because I'm going to take a break. So don't leave. We have more Egypt to discuss. I'll be back after a short break. See you soon. And the 45th edition rolls on or rolls forward, whichever you prefer. That's right, everybody. 45th edition, and I hope you can still hear me. I'm asking for a sound check, just really fast. Audio check. Are we good? Yes. Okay. I drink to that. Ooh, coffee. Okay. Turkish coffee, Egyptian show. Two different things. But I know that they enjoy Turkish coffee in Egypt too. How do I know this? My Egyptian students tell me this. Anyway, like I said, 45th edition of Englishing with Jings. I'm still your host, Brandon Lobshire, and I think that we're going to watch a video about how the pyramids were built. As I said earlier in the show, as a kid, I was always really, really interested in how these big, heavy, insanely accurate pyramids were built such a long time ago. Never really made much sense to me, but okay. We're going to watch an explanation right now on how they were built. Take it away. I'm interested to hear the excuse.
Grammarly.
Egyptians built the pyramids.
No audio.
Even just figuring out how they lifted and moved the immense granite blocks, some of which weighed dozens of tons, has proven extremely difficult. The tale emerging as one of a culture with great skill, ingenuity, and determination to leave a mark on the world. Today we're going to take a look at how the ancient Egyptians built the pyramids. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel and let us know what ancient mystery you would like to hear more about. All right, here's one to build on. The pyramids of Giza were constructed over 4,000 years ago, so it's natural to assume the passage of time is why the methods behind their construction remain so mysterious. While that's partially true, scholars now believe that it's also likely the ancient Egyptians deliberately tried to conceal those methods. Egyptologist Kara Cooney points out that, as much as anything else, the pyramids were works of propaganda. Part of their purpose was to prove the otherworldly and godlike nature of their kings. The sense that these structures were impossible for mere mortals or other rulers to build was a key part of that illusion, so concealing the secrets behind their construction would have been paramount. For many people, the first question that pops to mind when contemplating the construction of the pyramids is, how did they move those giant stones? The answer begins right in the quarries where the granite was taken from. The quarries were filled with natural obelisks of rock. Workers would identify one of these obelisks and then remove the ground around it. The process began by chipping away at the weathered upper layers of the rock. Then they would dig deep trenches around the obelisk to free it from the rest of the ground. Next, the workers would clear a path to one side so that the cut stone could be pushed out horizontally as opposed to being lifted out vertically. We know this is how they really did it because archaeologists have uncovered a single unfinished obelisk which, for unknown reasons, was abandoned midway through the process of extraction. Even in modern times, quarrying granite and cutting it into a usable shape for construction is extremely difficult. This has led many to wonder how the ancient Egyptians were able to accomplish the task with such precision. While there is still much to be learned, one theory has some compelling physical evidence backing it up. Egyptologists believe the ancients used a very clever method which involved punching holes in the rock with an iron chisel and then stuffing those holes with wooden wedges. The wedges would be drenched with water, which would cause them to expand until they split the rock itself. Then the workers would chisel those fissures until the stone was in the shape of a block. As previously mentioned, the ancient Egyptians made every effort to keep the methods behind pyramid construction a secret. However, some evidence and documentation has survived, including the papyrus diary of a worker named Merer. Merer's diary, along with other sources, hint at a culture with a deep and meaningful understanding of physics. This knowledge allowed the Egyptians to create planes, wedges, pulleys, and levers, different kinds of simple machines. Construction of the pyramids was enabled by the ability to employ these simple machines on a massive scale, with incredible creativity and ingenuity. Once the massive obelisks were cut from the ground, the workers faced an even bigger challenge: getting the blocks out of the quarry. Scholars have long wondered how the ancients were able to lift these blocks, which could weigh dozens of tons, without the use of advanced machinery. Recent archaeological discoveries at an alabaster quarry in eastern Egypt suggest that the workers used a simple but ingenious ramp and rope system to move the blocks. It worked like this. An upwards ramp was built with an adjacent staircase on both sides. Posts would be set into holes dug into the staircase at regular intervals. The block would then be placed on a flat sled. Finally, the workers would attach ropes to the block and pull them over the poles, using them as axles. The net effect was to cause the block to slide up the ramp. While it is important to note that this evidence comes from a quarry that was not used in the construction of the pyramids, it's still likely that the same methods and technologies were used. Quarrying the blocks was extremely difficult, and lifting them out of the quarries even more so. But those challenges were nothing compared to what came next: transporting the quarried blocks across miles of desert to the construction site at Giza. The task was daunting, but they figured out a way to make it easy by using toboggans. Yes, evidence shows that the ancient Egyptians used rudimentary sledges to move the massive stones across the sands. These sledges were simple, flat surfaces with upturned edges that could glide right over the dunes. Well, almost. The extreme weight of the blocks complicated the process by causing the sledges to dig into the sand. But once again, the ancients had a simple but effective solution to the problem: water. Living in the desert, the Egyptians had long known that wet sand was firmer and therefore able to carry a heavier load than dry sand. That being the case, the workers likely used water right out of the Nile River to wet the path ahead of them. This theory is based on a wall painting found in a tomb that shows the process in action. Previous scholars interpreted the water pouring as ceremonial, but later researchers suspected it might have had a more practical purpose. The method, which was eventually tested by researchers from the University of Amsterdam, was found to be very effective. The ability to drag granite blocks through the desert sands was necessary, but labor-intensive. In order to help ease certain stretches of the journey, the Egyptians probably installed fixed tracks in some areas. Archaeologists have found evidence of these tracks in several locations. Like everything else the builders did, the method was simple but effective. Round logs were laid down and used as rails for the granite blocks to slide along. Areas that required moving uphill were likely traversed with help from the same rope and pulley systems used in the quarries. These sites have also yielded traces of oils and animal fats, which scholars suspect were used as lubricants. While heavier stones needed to be moved over land, lighter blocks that were 15 tons or less were often floated to their destination. The papyrus diary of an Egyptian official involved in the process refers to a series of canals connected to the Nile that were used for precisely this purpose. The diary records that wooden boats lashed together with ropes would be used to ferry the blocks from their quarry in Tura to the plateau at Giza. While the designs of the canals were sophisticated enough to include artificial ports for loading and unloading, they only functioned during the summer when the Nile was flooded. Despite all of this information, there's still so much we don't know about the construction of the pyramids. One of those things is the design of the ramps that were used to pull granite blocks from quarries and elevate the blocks into place once they reached their final destination. Scientists have suggested numerous possibilities for the design of these ramps, from the incredibly simple to the surprisingly complex. Each of those suggestions have pros and cons, but in the absence of additional evidence turning up, there's no current basis on which to determine once and for all which might be right. Some of the best evidence we have about the ramp construction comes to us very recently via modern technology. A high-tech scanning process known as muography was used on the Great Pyramid of Giza. The scan detected a mysterious deep gap in the pyramid that some theorize is the remnant of a construction ramp that was used to build the pyramid from the inside out. Because the area is virtually inaccessible, archaeologists have not yet been able to examine it more closely.
If you work in a team, you've got to try
Interesting. I still don't know if I agree with this, though.
Questions still remain about how some of these lighter stones might have been moved when the Nile wasn't flooded, or for the construction of pyramids not located near water. Joseph West of Indiana State University has a guess. West theorizes that if the Egyptians attached 3 rods to each side of the blocks, 12 in total, it would transform the block into a dodecagon that could easily be rolled up the ramps. He tested his theory with an experiment which showed that the method not only worked, but significantly reduced the effort needed to move the large blocks around. How significantly? Enough so that a single person could push the block a considerable distance. However, while the concepts involved were known to the Egyptians, and their knowledge of physics made it plausible they could have figured it out, there is no direct evidence they used this method. Going back to the days of the Bible and Herodotus, it is believed that the pyramids were built on the backs of hundreds of thousands of slave laborers. Modern archaeologists, however, aren't so sure. Evidence gathered from the tombs of the workers suggests a fairly different scenario. First, there were far fewer workers than were previously believed. Rather than number in the hundreds of thousands, scholars now believe the number was closer to 10,000 or so. Moreover, those workers were clearly of a higher social status than that associated with slaves. Combined with the evidence of the technology and ingenuity used in the transportation of the materials and construction itself, Egyptologists now believe the workers who built the pyramids were highly skilled, creative artisans. Are you impressed by the construction of the pyramids? Let us guess. You still think aliens? Oh boy. Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.
Okay. I don't know. Questionable. Definitely questionable. What do you guys think? Is that how they did it? Just doesn't seem so easy. Okay. I guess I've never tried to get 10,000 of my friends together and move multi-ton blocks. So I can't say for sure, but wow, amazing. I mean, do you see how many blocks are on the pyramid? There's probably 1 million of them. So how long did this take? 500 years to construct this pyramid? I don't know. You know what? I have to look for that. Let's see. I'm curious. Okay, it's estimated that the construction of the largest pyramid took approximately 20 years. That's it? 20 years. Audio? Now? 1, 2. Are you sure? Okay. I don't know where you couldn't hear me from, though. Okay. I don't know where you guys lost me with audio, so I'm just going to repeat the last thing that I said. I was wondering how long it would take to build these pyramids. And I'm reading that it's estimated that the construction of the largest pyramid took approximately 20 years. That is crazy. I definitely would have guessed more like 100 years, 200, 500 years, something like that. There's millions of blocks there. I mean, just to cut those blocks out of the quarry and pull them out, seems to me that would take a lot longer than 20 years. Okay. I think these are all guesses, to be honest. So, having said that, I want to reiterate that James Learning is accepting students right now as I speak. So if anybody is interested in perfecting their English conversational skills, look no further than Jing's Learning. We help with every aspect of the English language through conversation. We help your grammar. We help your sentence structure. We help your pronunciation. You will learn new vocabulary. I guarantee it. So, like I said, look no further for your English conversational improvements than Jing's Learning. We're standing by right now, accepting students, and our teachers are full of experience. We love our students, actually. I can say this. Okay. Advertisement over, and I think that we are going to learn a little bit about the bazaar in Egypt. So for all you shoppers out there, if you're ever visiting Egypt, we're about to show you what the bazaar looks like and what you can expect. So let's roll it out. I'm ready. I've never seen the Egyptian bazaar before. This is going to be interesting. No audio. No audio. Okay, so I don't think we're going to use audio for this one. This looks just like any other marketplace. Wow, look at all that stuff. This reminds me of Greece when I was in Athens. I bet the street food's good. Real good. Wow. Just about anything you can think of. Hmm. You know, I'd be a little bit scared that somebody would try to take my wallet, though. Oh, that's so American of me. And it doesn't matter where it's at in the world. There's just so many people in such a small area. Look at all that shopping. My God. Like they definitely warned us about that in Greece. Watch your wallets. we've had tourists get their wallets taken by pickpockets. I'll bet cats are treated really well in Egypt, as they were in Greece too. That's it? There has to be more. I think that's about it. It's sad. The one in Athens was bigger, way bigger. Hmm. And what? Oops. Cool. Those poor people don't make much money. I can tell you that right now. It's sad. Especially right now with this coronavirus happening. I definitely have to visit Egypt. I actually have friends here in Serbia that have visited there a few times now. They loved it. Interesting. Hmm. You can literally find anything in this bazaar. Anything. Even Che Guevara. Wow. You can tell their tour guides told them about purses. They have their purses like this in the front. Oh, that's not right. That's so bad. Silly. I want to go and I want to get an Egypt t-shirt. Cool. Definitely cool. I would visit. Okay, I think we're going to watch a quick video about the Sphinx. Another one of my, I don't know, childhood mysteries of Egypt, the Sphinx.
Sphinx of Giza. This ancient sculpture is unsurpassed in its scale and ambition.
Never before had anything like this been seen in Egypt. No colossal statue this size, this scale existed.
Egyptian stonemasons cut the Sphinx from limestone bedrock more than 4,000 years ago, most likely to honor the great pharaoh Khafre. Historians believe the human features of the Sphinx are a direct likeness of the pharaoh himself. But over thousands of years, the harsh desert wind has sandblasted Khafre's carved features away, leaving just a few tantalizing clues as to how the sculpture originally looked. The deep cuts in the face are chisel marks, left by vandals who chopped off the nose. Based on other statues of the time, this is what the nose may have looked like. Stone fragments found between the paws are clues that the Sphinx had a beard. Traces of paint behind the ears could mean that it used to wear heavy makeup. And what looks like hair is actually a regal headdress, framing the immortal face of the god king Khafre himself. But one big question remains unanswered. Why did Khafre put his face on the body of a lion? The ancient world had never seen an animal-human hybrid quite like it before.
Usually, statues in ancient Egypt are comprising a human body with an animal head, so they're usually that way round, rather than in the case of the Sphinx, where we've got a lion's body with Khafre's human head on top.
Egyptologist Lydia McKnight believes cats had special religious meaning to the Egyptians, and that perhaps Khafre put his head on a lion to impress his cat-mad people. Lydia looks for evidence of this cat obsession in tiny mummies like this, commonly unearthed in Egyptian digs.
We've brought a mummified animal from Manchester Museum's collections because we believe it to be the mummy of a cat.
Today, Lydia wants to confirm the contents of this tightly wrapped package and get some idea of how the animal died. She wants to know if the death was natural or if the Egyptians were killing animals to order.
We brought it here today to use non-invasive radiographic methods that are usually used to scan living patients, just to check what's going on the inside in a non-destructive way.
First, Lydia needs to check if it really is a cat inside the ancient dressings. She hunts for telltale signs that the skeleton is feline.
Usually we identify a cat from the skull and the teeth, so the shape of the skull, the teeth and the limb bones, so the legs. But we've got what appears to be 4 limbs in the position we would expect to find them.
The ancient skull of this specimen is badly damaged, but the legs are intact and folded up underneath the body.
You can see quite nicely the paws here. So this is one of your front limbs and a paw. We've got what appears to be a complete cat skeleton in there.
Lydia also searches for thin, clear lines that run horizontally across the top of the leg bones. This will tell her how old the cat was when it died. These lines are growth plates, and they're only found in juvenile animals. The prominent growth plates on this specimen can mean only one thing.
So it was an immature kitten at the time of death.
The fact that this kitten died before the end of its natural life suggests it was not a beloved pet. It was an animal bred in captivity for one purpose: to be slaughtered and mummified as an offering to the cat gods.
Research estimates that around 10 million cats would have been mummified as votive offerings during this 1,000-year time period, so we really are looking at a massive scale industry.
Wow.
The Egyptian people clearly thought cats were an important link to their gods. And by putting his image on the body of a lion, Khafre might have found many admirers. But Lydia thinks that the pharaoh's motivations stretched far beyond mere popularity.
We believe that the pharaohs like to imply that they were almost gods on earth, that they had the power of a god but in living human form.
Did Khafre want to be seen as a god? Is that why he put his head on one of the animals his subjects considered most holy?
Khafre wanted to show his dominance and power over not only the physical landscape in which the statue stands, but also over the people of Egypt during his reign.
To impress his people, Khafre ordered the construction of the biggest statue in Egyptian history. But there was a problem. No animal carving this big had ever been attempted before. To achieve it, Mark Lehner thinks the Egyptian craftsmen must have learned how to exploit the natural layers of the rock.
We've been looking at the layers in the Sphinx quarry where they cut the blocks. But it all tells you that the Egyptians were good geologists in their own right. They used the geology and the layers to their advantage, that's for sure.
Mark's investigations suggest that the Egyptians would pound trenches into the bedrock to form a grid of deep channels and expose the layers of limestone. They drove wooden wedges between the layers to split them with ease and lift out perfect building blocks. As they excavated the rocks, they carved out the rough shape of the Sphinx and recycled the spoil to build the temples.
And what they did for the pyramids.
Finally, an army of stonemasons used copper chisels to add the detail of the pharaoh's face and lion's body.
The combination of the human head with the lion body symbolizes supreme strength and power, as in many cultures, the lion is the symbol, is the king of the beasts. And yet, the beast is controlled by human intelligence, indeed, the intelligence of Pharaoh himself.
Wow. So cool. Okay, I wasn't aware that they actually cut it right out of the rock. Didn't know that. I thought this was another one of those structures they had to carry large blocks from far away, but maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. A lot of really great stuff from Egypt today. Is my audio okay? This is what I need to know. Well, hello, Jane. Welcome to the show. Okay. And we're pretty much nearing the end of the show, actually. Anything else that we want to see about Egypt? Okay, hold on. I think we have enough time for one more video. Yeah, I know. Mm. Okay. One more. Oops. That's not supposed to start. Let's watch one little small cute video. It says ancient pharaohs.
介紹下自己啊！
我叫阿 Man 啊。
One last video for the No audio?
As you probably know, the ancient Egyptian civilization thrived around the Nile River Valley. Because of this river valley, agriculture boomed and population grew. Eventually, leaders emerged and took control of the entire civilization. We're going to take a closer look at a few of these rulers that controlled ancient Egypt during the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms. During these 3 periods of stability and unity, the ancient Egyptian leaders, known as pharaohs, had many great accomplishments. During the Old Kingdom, pharaohs set up a central government and built great tombs for themselves. In the Middle Kingdom, great achievements in literature, art, and architecture were made. The New Kingdom, also known as Egypt's Golden Age, was a time of stability and peace. During all 3 periods, pharaohs held supreme power. They were the kings, military generals, and religious leaders of the land. They were in charge of everything. Pharaoh Khufu ruled from 2551 to 2528 BCE. He is responsible for the Great Pyramid at Giza. Not too much is known about Pharaoh Khufu. There are contradictory stories about his reign. It is generally accepted that Khufu helped establish the pharaoh as the person in charge in ancient Egypt. Much like pharaohs had followed him, Khufu declared himself a god. Khufu was responsible for building the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the wonders of the world. The Great Pyramid would be Khufu's final resting place, as his soul entered the afterlife. It took more than 2 million stone blocks and more than 20 years to complete. Pharaoh Senusret I ruled from 1971 to 1926 BCE. Art, literature, and architecture flourished during his reign. Since the pharaoh controlled gold, copper, and gem mines, craftspeople thrived with abundant resources. Jewelry was made with these precious metals and gems. Senusret also built and improved many temples, shrines, and religious monuments across the Egyptian civilization. The White Chapel is a prime example of his religious architectural achievements. The craftsmanship is evident in the detailed carvings all throughout the temple. Unfortunately, a later pharaoh took the White Chapel apart to use in his own monument. Archaeologists discovered the pieces of the White Chapel and reconstructed it. Pharaoh Hatshepsut ruled from 1473 to 1458 BCE. She was Egypt's first female ruler, and she demanded the same respect as a male ruler. As pharaoh, she promoted trade with other countries. Her biggest trade expedition was to the African kingdom of Punt, which brought back many exotic goods. Hatshepsut's monument was built into a cliff above the Nile River. The entrance of this magnificent monument was graced by 200 Sphinx statues. Inside the temple, the walls were decorated with carvings that detailed scenes from Hatshepsut's reign. The pharaoh Ramses II ruled from 1290 to 1224 BCE. This pharaoh wasn't nicknamed Ramses the Great for nothing. He was one of the most important rulers in Egyptian history. Here's Ramses by the numbers. He was made captain in the Egyptian army at age 10. He ruled for more than 60 years. He had more than 100 wives and more than 100 children. He also had hundreds of statues of himself erected all over Egypt. His temple complex at Abu Simbel is an excellent example of his impressive building projects. 4 giant statues of himself guard the entrance to the main temple. The inside is just as amazing as the outside. The temple was also built so that twice a year the sun would shine down the hallway to light up the statues. Ramses is also one of the better preserved mummies ever discovered. There have been about 170 pharaohs to rule ancient Egypt. Here are a few notable leaders. Menes is considered the first because he united Upper and Lower Egypt and founded the first dynasty. Cleopatra VII is considered the last. Shortly after her reign, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire. King Tutankhamun was the youngest. He is possibly the best known pharaoh today because his tomb was nearly intact when discovered. Akhenaten is known for turning ancient Egypt into a monotheistic religion. It returned to polytheistic soon after his death. There are quite a few other pharaohs, but I only have 5 minutes, so that's all for now. Here are some sources. and some photo credits.
Cool.
Bye.
Okay, that was very, very short, but very effective. Okay. People, this has been awesome, as always. So I'm going to have to bid everybody farewell for this week. The 45th edition is officially coming to a close. So, having said that, stay tuned because next Sunday will be number 46, and I'm sure it will be mind-blowing. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you soon.